All right, so you've got access to GitHub Copilot. You've been playing around with it, and let's be honest, probably getting some pretty mind-blowing results. But how do you go from just kind of messing around with an AI assistant to actually using it like a pro? That's exactly what we're going to break down here. We're going to look at how to turn your chats with AI into a real, disciplined, professional workflow called prompt-driven development. Okay, let's get into it. First things first, we need to kind of map out the territory. There's a whole spectrum of how developers are using AI right now, and we're going to take a little journey from one end of that spectrum all the way to the other, from just casual experimenting to a full-on professional methodology. And it all starts with a place you've probably already been, vibe coding. I love this term from Andre Karpathy because it just perfectly captures that initial experience, right? You've got an idea, a feeling, a vibe, and you just toss it at Copilot to see what sticks. It's super creative, it's a ton of fun, but as you've likely found out, the results can be, well, all over the place. So the next logical step up from that is what we call prompt engineering. This is where you start moving from just vibes to being really deliberate. Instead of a vague idea, you're crafting a structured, specific prompt because you're trying to get a predictable result. You know, it's the difference between just doodling on a napkin and actually drafting a real architectural blueprint. The intent is way, way clearer. But at the very top of this spectrum, where we're aiming to be, is prompt-driven development, or PDD. And listen, this is the most important part. PDD isn't just about writing a better prompt. It's a complete development methodology. It means you treat your prompts with the exact same respect you treat your code. They get tested, they're versioned, and they're refined. They become first-class citizens right inside your code base. So, what does that actually look like day to day? Well, PDD brings its own development lifecycle to the table. It's a systematic process that turns what feels like a simple conversation with an AI into a repeatable professional engineering workflow. And this workflow has 5 main stages. You kick things off with intent alignment. That means actually defining what success looks like before you write a single prompt. From there, you get into prompt design, carefully crafting those instructions for the AI. Then comes the really critical part, generation and evaluation. You get the code and you check it hard for quality, for security, for everything. After that, you integrate and refine it, refactoring that AI-generated code so it meets your team's standards. And finally, the whole thing gets professionalized with PromptOps, where you manage these prompts in a CI/CD pipeline just like you would any other production code. Okay, I know that might sound a little bit abstract, so let's make it real. We're going to walk through how these PDD stages actually apply to a real-world coding session with an AI assistant like your GitHub Copilot. It all starts with that first step, intent alignment. You might just kick things off with a brainstorming prompt like this one, asking for app ideas. See, you're not writing code yet. You're collaborating with the AI to figure out the project's goal and its scope. Now we move on to prompt design. Once you've picked an idea, let's say we're building a flashcard app, the next prompt is to ask the AI to create a structured plan. The output, this markdown file, becomes a documented project outline. And this is key. It's not just a passing comment in a chat window. It's a real artifact that you can check into version control and use to guide the whole project. And this quote just nails the whole generation and evaluation stage. You're almost never going to get the perfect output on the first try. It's just not how it works. The real magic of PDD is this constant cycle of prompting, looking at the results, and then reprompting with clearer, more specific instructions. It really is a dance, a conversation to get the output exactly where you need it to be. Okay, so that's the workflow for you as an individual. But to really do this at a professional level across an entire team, you're going to need more than just good habits. You need systems, you need tools. So let's stick with our flashcard app example and see how we can level this up from a solo jam session to a true engineering discipline. This table really highlights the fundamental shift in how we work. I mean, think about it. Building that flashcard app the old way, you're focused on the syntax, getting that for loop just right. With PDD, your main focus shifts to articulating your intent and the constraints. You're describing what the flashcard component should do and the rules it has to follow. Debugging is less about finding a missing semicolon and a lot more about clarifying your instructions to the AI. And this shift gets even crazier when we talk about testing. In traditional TDD, everything is deterministic. You expect sum of 2 to equal 4 every single time. It's pass or fail. But what if we ask the AI for our flashcard app to say, generate 3 tricky questions about JavaScript closures? the output's going to be different every single time. So we need a new way to think about testing. We use things like semantic similarity to check if the meaning of the output is correct, not the exact characters. It's probabilistic, not deterministic. So how do you manage all this new complexity at scale? Well, with PromptOps. If you already know DevOps, this is going to click instantly. It's the same idea. For our flashcard app, that prompt that generated the first project plan, that gets checked into Git. The prompts that create our UI components, they run through an automated evaluation pipeline. This is what makes PDD a robust, repeatable, professional discipline. And to make our prompts more reliable, these professional frameworks are starting to pop up. You can almost think of them as a new kind of syntax, but for natural language. For our flashcard app, we could use a framework like CoStar. We'd specify the context, it's a study app, the objective, create a React component, and the required style, functional components with hooks. This structure cuts down on the ambiguity and gets us way closer to production-ready code faster. So this all leads us to the big question, the one that's on everybody's mind. With all this automation, what happens to us, the developers? Well, the answer isn't about replacement, it's about evolution. And this is the absolute crucial takeaway. Your value as an engineer is moving up the stack. The old role was the scripter, deep in the weeds of syntax and line-by-line implementation. The new role? That's the architect and the curator. Your job is to focus on high-level systems thinking, to get really good at articulating complex problems in your prompts, and then to expertly evaluate, refine, and integrate the code that the AI produces. Look, the AI is basically becoming the world's best junior developer, the ultimate pair programmer. It can handle all the boilerplate and scaffolding, which frees you up to solve bigger, more interesting problems. So the final question really isn't about whether AI is going to take your job. The real question is, are you ready to evolve with it? Are you ready to shift your focus from writing lines of code to architecting intelligent systems?